Okay, just a few final bits about X8, and this time I'm talking about the narrative. So, what did I think about the narrative of X8? Well, I don't think it's as good as it could be. Like, granted, if we're really looking back across the X games, it's not Shakespearean prose, although some might argue that Shakespearean prose isn't actually good writing, but I'm not going to go there. The I mean, the core concept, Reploids are out there, the humans are in danger, Mega Man goes to save them, and then we have this little opera of the Mavericks, and the Reploids trying to figure out whether or not, like, who's right and who's wrong. And X being conflicted about the fact that he has to fight to protect people, because being something of more of a pacifist than his elder brother, the original Mega Man, oddly enough. So, I mean, elder brother. uh, but yeah, so you have that whole thing. So X8's twist on this. Now, as you probably know, Sigma always comes back in every X game, and X8 is no different. However, it does a similar thing to what they did in X5, where they don't even play around with it. They're just like, yeah, Sigma's back. He's just back. Here he is. First level. Here he is. Like, after you get through the first level, in this one in particular, the the difference is there's a bunch of them. There are a bunch of Sigmas, and a character named Lumine stands ominously in front of all of these Sigma clones, and X0 and X are like, press X not to trust, press X to doubt. As Lumine says, yes, I have made these. It's fine. Trust me. And then we never see him again. We don't see him again until like near the end of the game. And same is true of Sigma. Really, we don't see him until we go to the moon, and there's a whole bunch of weaker Sigmas, and then you fight the big bad Master Sigma, and then Lumine shows up and says, "Yeah, I was behind all of this." Um, this comes to a general problem I do have when I see certain implementations of story in games, where you'll have a stage, and you'll have this boss character that is, they're kind of they're designed in such a way where you feel like they're supposed to be something kind of cool and important, but you only really interact with them at the end of the stage. There isn't really a creation of connection over the course of the play. And this even follows for final bosses in a lot of games, where you'll get to the end, and you've maybe been fighting your rival all throughout the game, and then the big bad shows up and you're like, who are you? I don't care about you. Where's my rival? I want to kill him. And that's a problem in a lot of games, where the big bad villain doesn't really have a presence. And again, gameplay always comes first. Gameplay trumps. If the gameplay is good, it doesn't matter. But from a standpoint of, if you want the character to be memorable, there's something to be said for having them kind of appear, or at least having something that kind of referendums them. Now, I will, not to plug too much, but in one of the games that I made, Highway to the Moon, one of the things that I really wanted to do was to have each level kind of have its own character, and have its own mini story going on. And so the way that I handled that was that each level is centered around a a boss character that you end up facing at the end. And all throughout the level, the boss character shows up or is doing things to you. Like for level 1, Angry Alexander's the head of a biker gang, and so he shows up at various points and sicks his goons on you, and also just taunts you at points. And then at the end of the stage, he shows up again, and you're ready to fight him. You know who he is. You know that he's been harrying you this entire time. And the second stage, you got Bartandalus, the ninja Air Force man who rides on the outside of airplanes. He is another character that all throughout the stage he's showing up. He's sicking his goons on you at various points. He actually just starts fighting you directly. And so when you get to the end of it and you're fighting him in his giant flying fortress, you're like, okay, I know who this guy is. He's been having beef with me this entire time. I want to kill him. And so, making those connections, even if it is something as simple as, my gosh, I want to kill this guy. Even if it's something as simple as that, making that connection, that's what makes a character memorable. And you can do that mechanically as well as narratively. And so that's actually a general flaw across the X games, in my opinion. It's with a few exceptions, like in X4, you have Colonel, who you interact with him a couple times, so you make a connection with him. You have Vile from X1, who you interact with him a couple times, you make a connection with that guy, which makes it kind of anticlimactic that you beat him in the first part of the Sigma stage, and then you're kind of moving on from there. And it's not anticlimactic, but it's still. I do remember after doing that, I was like, what now? Like, I felt like I had finished. There was a part of me that felt like I had finished the game at that point, which is interesting, But, you have that element there. And certainly X8 did have Vile show up as well, but I'm not really sure what he was doing there. Like, why was he there? I didn't really pick that up from the storyline. At least in X3, it was very clear. He's just like, I'm just here to kill you because you killed me. So, tit for tat, vengeance time. That made sense. And that, the fact that you had that connection with him from way back, where he was the guy that bullied you in the very first game. And then, you bullied him back, and now he's like, all right, I'm back, and I'm going to bully you for bullying me, kind of thing. But with X8, other than the fact that we're importing that connection from the previous games, which means if you don't really know anything about him and he shows up in X8, you're just kind of like, so you're called Vile. What's Vile about you? I don't know you. You just look like Boba Fett. Are you Boba Fett? Are you Boba Fett? You're green like him. That's the other thing. They should have made him purple. I don't know why they changed him to green. They should have kept him purple. That was an iconic color, and it also made it less copyright infringy. He even had a jetpack. Goodness gracious. So, yeah. That's one of the things. From a narrative standpoint, I kind of feel like, it's Mega Man. So I probably shouldn't knock it for that. But then you look at the Mega Man Zero series, and to a lesser extent, the ZX series, the storyline there might go a little off the rails. But the Zero series had a very interesting and strong story and did a lot mechanically and visually to convey it. And it made you have a connection with the resistance fighters. It actually had a human show up, which I might have to talk about that a little bit later. Just the fact that you're supposed to be protecting humans, but you never see them in the original X games. Never. I still remember when X3 came out and I saw Dr. Doppler. I was like, hey, he's a human. Oh, I guess you see Dr. Caslock. That's true. You see him. Yeah. And I thought Dr. Doppler was a human. It's like, oh, okay, finally we get to see that. And then it's like, no, he's another robot. Oh, are there humans? Did we just kill them all? Is Mega Man fighting for nothing? Did Zero, when Zero shouted, "What am I fighting for?" Did he have, a little bit, an ounce of sense when he was saying that? Anyway, I digress. That's what I have to say about the narrative of X8. I mean, granted, it's a Mega Man game, so I I kind of have to give it a pass. It's more about the play, and the fact that the play is a little bit flawed kind of harms it, you know. So that's X8 in a nutshell. So to close out, I guess, in my opinion, I feel X8 is a flawed entry into the X series, and the reason why people really liked it was because X7 was a travesty. It just was. It just was bad. And X8 was not a return to form. It was more of a trying to remember what that form was, in my opinion. And they kind of achieved it, and they kind of didn't. And so that's where I stand on X8 as a game. I think it's serviceable, and if it wasn't an entry into the X series, actually I think it would probably be a little bit worse, if I'm honest. So that's kind of my take on the X8 series. So um, yeah, that's what I have to say. So I don't remember the commenter's name. I could, go look it up and then say, yes, you. Thank you for commenting. But I'm a little bit lazy right now. I might cut this out and then put that on there. It's like, thank you for commenting. Please comment more. Incidentally, this has been a broadcast from Vernacular Games. My name is Redcoat. I am the founder and CEO of Vernacular Games. We have released 2 games so far. The first is Highway to the Moon, which is a scrolling shoot 'em up with omnidirectional aiming, and magic timing for different performances on your guns. We also have Legends of Mathmatica Squared, which is a classical style RPG that makes fun of RPGs and has a lot of math puns. Uses an active time battle system and has a bunch of puzzle dungeons. If that is something that floats your boat, you can check out either one of those games on Steam or itch.io. Additionally, we are currently in work with a client to put together a card game called Record Biz, and the waiting list will be available under this video. Should you want to try out a card game about being a record tycoon and managing performers as you send them out to different venues to get that cash, to get busy with the bucks, you might want to try it out. Or at the very least, put yourself on the waiting list so that as soon as it releases, we can get you a copy. Anyways, that's all I have to say for now. This is Redcoat, signing off. Thank you for listening to this broadcast from Vernacular Games. I'm Redcoat, founder of Vernacular Games. If you'd like to see some of the other things that we have done, you can check out our game, Highway to the Moon, on Steam and itch.io. It is a scrolling shoot 'em up with 8-directional, or rather omnidirectional aiming, and some interesting little shenaniganry going on. We also have Legends of Mathmatica Squared, a tongue-in-cheek RPG, well, classical style RPG, with math puns galore, puzzle dungeons, and an active time battle system. In addition, we've also released a children's storybook called The Fairy and the Dragon. We did this in partnership with Inertia Productions, and their author and the lead author, Jeffrey Morgan. You can find that book on BookBaby, also Amazon, but you might have a hard time finding it there. Additionally, we are working with a client to get a card game out into the world. It is called Record Biz. The client, in particular, Brian Garrett, he is actually a member of the record business, and he wanted to impart his knowledge to the world. And what better way to do that than with a game? And so that is the mission, let's say. So it's building a card game that kind of operates a little like Monopoly. It's got a lot more agency than Monopoly does, if I'm honest, and allows you to take up the mantle of a record tycoon and deploy your mans out to different performance venues and record songs and make money off of those song assets. So it's a nice thing. It's a really cool thing. If you want to try that, if you want to check that game out when it comes out, we've got a waiting list that's going to be underneath this channel, underneath this video, that you can just click on it, go there, get on the list, and then as soon as new things come out, we will let you know. It'll be great. It'll be great. Now, with that out of the way, there are other things that Vernacular Games is working on. However, it's been a bit of a slog of a year, I'll be honest. But hopefully, we'll have things to announce to you in the coming months. But until then, you've got me as a talking head to listen to. Hi. So, without further ado, this is Redcoat, signing off. Play the games you want to play, boyos. Also like and subscribe!